House to Home, brought to you by Remax Diamond Realty.
We're talking real estate right now on the show, and the topic tonight, perhaps you have land, whether it was bequeathed to you or you possibly bought it. It is yours. It's deeded to you. You basically own it. So if you are looking to build on that land, where do you get started and how do you do so? Fortunately, I have no idea, and so we have invited my good friend Gina from Remax Diamond Realty here. You have all the answers, Gina. I will just ask the questions because you are the expert.
I have some of the answers.
As is evidenced by that lovely pin.
Yes, thank you.
Representing Remax, so congratulations again.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's use somebody, let's just say his name is Mike, right, as a theoretical person, and say he lives in one of the southern villages. Mike has property. Mike would like to build on his property. Where does he start? Can he just start building right away because he owns it and everything, or what are the regulatory and safety inspections he has to go through?
And you know, depending on what he has in mind for what he wants to live in. So if somebody called me and asked me that question, hey Gina, I'm interested in building, where do I start? I'd ask, what do you have in mind? Are you just thinking, because I remember we had a piece of property in Chalampago and we basically just had a shack on it. And so on the weekends we'd go and we'd run around and putter and cut the boonies down and do whatever, and it was just a shack. It was great, free and clear. We didn't have to worry about payments.
But that's your prerogative because you own it.
That's right, because I own it. Okay, well, what if that's not what you have in mind? You actually want to build your home. You know, you're ready to settle down and you want to start constructing on that property. You want something permanent, something concrete. I would ask you, what kind of finances have you set aside to do this with? Have you actually saved and put money aside? So now you're ready. You've got a budget in mind. Let's say you've saved $80,000, $100,000. Tell me what that looks like in terms of finances. What have you done? And if they say, well, you know, we've put a little bit aside, but not enough that we could actually build the house, let alone do utilities. That's a whole separate episode.
Power, water, you want to get Wi-Fi all over the place. And,
that's right. I mean, that's a completely different animal. But let's say you've put aside a little bit, but not enough to actually build, a concrete home for your family. I'd say start with your lender. If you already have good credit and you're using a lender right now, maybe you have got an auto loan or you took out a loan at some point in your life, start with a lender that you're comfortable with and you're familiar with. Go there. Get pre-qualified for a construction loan, a mortgage loan, because that will give you a budget. And then I always tell people, don't let that determine what you build. Because I have families in a situation where they come in and they say, you know, my lender says I could borrow up to $300,000. It doesn't mean you're comfortable paying for a $300,000 loan.
Sure.
So that's the next part. Okay, well, you qualified for this amount, and there's two sides to that coin. Sometimes they come to me and say, Gina, we qualified for $75,000 or $50,000 or $100,000. So you need to take a look. Okay, that's your budget. Now you have to work backwards. The first thing you do is, what are the utilities going to cost you? Because when that house is done, you've got to have utilities, or how are you going to live there? And so you start with that. And a lot of people always tell me, well, that's kind of going backwards, isn't it? Actually, you always have to go backwards. Without the utilities, you're not going to be able to move in. So let's start with that. Go find out, what is it going to cost you to get utilities on this site?
Exactly. Running water, functional power. And anybody who's ever played the video game SimCity knows exactly what I'm talking about. You have to make sure that your pipe is laid before you put one brick down.
Foundation first.
Exactly.
So make sure you're going to be able to get utilities. Infrastructure. Make sure that you know what that's going to cost you. And minus that from your budget, because you're going to have to pay for that out of that budget at some point. And then what you have left is what you really can spend to build. So let's say it costs about $90 a square foot to build. Take what you have left and divide it by that number, and you more or less can see the size of the house that you could build based on the remaining budget. And there's a lot of other things that go into this, but that's the simple, that's the simple version of where do you start. You start with the money. It always starts with that. Go to your lender, get a budget, and then sit down and figure out what that's going to cost you.
Okay, so we've got the financial side covered and hopefully mapped out over a specific amount of time, whether that's right now or over many, many months, if not years. How about what agencies you have to talk to when you want to go for somebody's going to put the pipes down to facilitate water and sewer and electricity and internet and everything like that?
don't take it for granted that that's going to work out. So what I've told people many times is I always start with GWA because they have been the hardest agency to work with in terms of what they're going to allow you to do when you actually build.
Interesting.
And you know, I've done this for Habitat for Humanities, and I could tell you, if you go to them and really plead your case and show them what it's going to cost for what they're telling you you need to do, I've seen that they've actually sat with you on the table and said, you know, we can see that what you're asking for makes sense, so instead of making you put in the 6-inch pipe or the 4-inch pipe, you've presented your case enough, so we'll allow you to connect to that 2-inch pipe that's existing. But this is what we're going to expect from you. But I always start with them. I take my map, I go into GWA, and I ask them, where's the water, where's the sewer? Where will you allow me to connect my house when it's done? Where can I connect? They'll tell you. Then you take that to a contractor who does that type of work. Not all contractors are allowed to install water or sewer. You actually have to go to certain contractors, and they might be able to refer you to the proper people. Then you go to them and you ask them, to do what GWA has asked me to do, what are you gonna charge me?
Then you start getting your quotes. And
then you start getting your quotes. Then you start minusing it from the budget that you've already gotten from the bank. And then, you know, you just keep whittling away until you finally end up with, this is how much I have left for the house.
And the whole process is iterative, a budget, and then
you start with your budget.
Okay, so before we go to our commercial break, real quick, how about getting to the house as far as like laying out a road if one is not already set there? Because a lot of people, you know, they have dirt roads, they have rocks all over the place.
You're right.
Is that up to you, or do you call DPW?
That is up to you. It is absolutely up to you. But that, you at that point, when you have your utilities squared away, now you could start talking with your contractor. For me, I find it, and I'm going through this process right now, I have found that it's been most convenient for me to just go to the contractor, say, here's my map, here's what I'm going to have to pay to get the utilities done. I've gotten that budget out of the way, unless you can give me a better price, right? But now I need you to open up the road, I need you to clear the property, I need you to work with me to get me a plan for the house. Here's kind of a sketch of what I want it to build. Now give me a plan and a quotation.
All right.
So I find the contractor could do the rest of the work from there.
Okay, but since you said I have the freedom, I'm going to do like what most people my age would do. We'd just go to, you know, just get a bunch of white gravel and like make a nice path.
Yeah, you can.
All right. Well, Gina, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Very good information. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
All right, stay tuned, everybody. Hope you were taking notes of this. If you're watching this on YouTube, rewind the playhead a little bit. Watch us again, because this was a good segment. We're back after.
Or call me.
There you go.